Happy Monday. Welcome to B2B Breakfast to Business with Team Asia. I'm Bea Lim, Managing Director of Team Asia and your morning companion here on out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special topic and it's really about mental health, of mindfulness and living the life with awesomeness, with peace, and with purpose. So before we go into today's topic, I actually just wanted to quickly check in with you guys if you heard last week's topic. Last week's topic, we talked about the lockdown and everything that has happened in between, things we kept ourselves busy with, trends that we saw not only on our social media but on articles, what our friends have been doing. And we actually coined that episode as Quarant Trends, the trends that came out of the quarantine. And we took a look at things like TikTok, right? The surge of media consumption on the digital space, things like dalgona coffee, fitness, cooking, all people becoming chefs and the like. And we really looked at what these things mean. We also looked at the rise of virtual communities. We've also looked into teleconferencing as the means of business moving forward. And the question really was, are these trends just because of the quarantine or the lockdown period, or are they here to stay? For us, really, we don't know. What we just really wanted to see is what has been out there, what has been keeping us busy, but more importantly, how do we see that helping us move forward through this pandemic into the new normal, or what we call the future reimagined. It was a very fun episode. We had a lot of comments from our guests, on the comment section of our social media posts. And it was really interesting to look at what people are saying their quarant trends are. So if you haven't checked it out, please do so, guys. It was a very fun episode, and I feel that it's something that we can all share and have fun with our friends. So if you haven't, please do share it with your friends. We would love to talk about it and continue giving us your comments on what your quarant trends are. All right, guys. So today's topic, very interesting, very special, very close to my heart. And today's topic, which I'm very excited about, is something that is dear and important to me because it is something that I believe everybody should be mindful of. It is taking care of oneself. It's self-love. It's being kind to oneself, which is mindful living and well-being. We have a very special guest with us today, and she is none other than the founder of MAGIS Creative Spaces, Miss Gina Alfonso. Majus is a center of creative education, therapies, and consulting that is based in the south of Metro Manila. I'm so happy that she's here with us today and that she has a lot of great stories to share with us. But before we actually delve into the topic of taking care of ourselves, of mental health, and mindful living, I think we need to describe first or talk about mental health in general. So if we were to just go into the dictionary definition of mindful living or mental health, it's according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, mental health includes our emotional, our psychological, and our social well-being. It affects the way we think, it affects how we feel, it affects how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, how we relate to other people, and how we make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, and we see it even more important now at this very crucial time when things are so challenging, things are scary, and things are uncertain. A lot of people are worried about their mental health. And it's not just because they are stuck at home, because there is a quarantine. Mental health is so important because we are all experiencing this global pandemic together. And we have had to go through so many different stresses in life, whether it's a change in your personal routine, the stresses and the challenging times in your business, in your industry, in your community, and the worry that we have, not only for ourselves, but for our family and friends, and how we can actually see ourselves moving towards the future with this global pandemic happening. Talking about what is uncertain, we actually had an episode of way back that talked about the future reimagined. And in that episode, we really talked about how important it is for us to have our heads held up high, have our chins up, because we do believe that there is life here in COVID. There's also life after COVID. And that is the reason also why, ladies and gentlemen, we felt that today's topic is so relevant, so important, that we want you guys to take this time have your breakfast served with a meaningful conversation on mental health, how to take care of yourself, how to be kind, and to talk about mindful living. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Miss Gina Alfonso of MAGIS Creative Spaces. Hi, Gina. Happy Monday morning.
Hello, good morning to everybody. Thank you so much, Bea, for having me. And thank you to Team Asia for inviting MAGIS Creative Spaces. It's a real pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's an honor, Gina. It's an honor to have you because you also made this possible. You brought in mindful living into the center of Magis Creative Spaces, and we'd love to know more about it. So, maybe, Gina, before we talk about mental health and mindful living, could you please tell us more about Magis Creative Spaces?
Sure. So Majus Creative Spaces started in 2013, and essentially it's a center for healing and learning through the expressive arts. Although we do offer other forms of therapy. So our programs are divided into kind of preventive programs, which are more art classes. We have taekwondo, we used to have ballet, so all kinds of artistic classes. Then you have the rehabilitative programs where we have occupational therapy, speech therapy, and then we also offer counseling. So we have a team of psychologists. We also have a dance therapist, an expressive arts therapist, and art therapist. So overall, what we do for the public is we also offer talks. So we have talks and workshops. We also work with organizations. So we've worked with businesses so organizations in the business sector, and then also nonprofits. So right now we're also working with a number of orphanages and shelters, working with the children there. So we have a varied range of individuals and groups that we serve. But primarily our thrust is really the belief that the arts can heal. And it's all forms of the arts. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But since 2013 till now, essentially that's the thrust of the organization. And it's been a real joy. I mean, learning with a team of such passionate individuals, and then also teaming up with Team Asia um, for the project. So that was really, I think, something that was meaningful to Magis. So thanks for inviting us to be involved in that. Yeah.
Of course. No, Gina, that's fantastic. I wanted everybody to know what you guys are all about because you said it in a nutshell. You believe that art can heal, and that is so beautiful because a lot of people actually out there are creative. We feel and we believe that everybody is creative actually, but they not necessarily know that creativity and art can heal. Usually it's something that they feel should be recreational or something that can be, later on, when in fact art is something that is personal, something that is beautiful, that can really, heal someone and create a safe space for them to be productive, to grow, and to dream. And actually, guys, Gina already mentioned it earlier, but that's actually one of the reasons why we know Magis Creative Spaces. It's because we teamed up with Gina's amazing team for our CSR program called My Dream in a Shoebox. So just a tidbit on that one. So My Dream in a Shoebox is a Christmas campaign that we offer to children all over the Philippines, wherein we repurpose old shoeboxes, fill it with school supplies, and give it to them as their Christmas gift. We believe that every child has the right to education, and we feel that, come Christmas time, for people or for kids who cannot move on to school because they do not have the means to buy their school supplies, we are able to provide them with that. And part of it actually are art supplies because we believe that children should have that time, should have those supplies of having art in their lives so that they can continue dreaming and continue developing as great dream builders as well, right? So thank you so much again to Magis Creative Spaces. They have been an amazing partner in making children feel that, they can dream their big dreams and actually make it a reality. Another tidbit, actually, guys, is that, and this is a disclaimer, we are all friends here I am from Taft, and our guest Gina is from Katipunan. But to be very clear, we have no beef. We are friends here. We are merely archers and eagles that coexist in this beautiful, beautiful environment of taking care of other people and empowering them with healing, with self love, and mindful living. But on that note, because I did give that hint that, Gina is an eagle, a lady eagle, and here I am, a lady archer. Um, uh, let's talk about Magis, right? Is the Magis from Magis Creative inspired by the virtues of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, the founder and the founder of the Society of Jesus? So I just wanted to check in with you real quick, Gina, because that's something that Athenians really do hold very dear and precious to them, right?
Right. But before I get into that, Bea, I want to say I come in peace. I love your intro. But anyway, yes, it actually is inspired by the whole idea of more. So doing everything, not necessarily in big amounts, but really more with more depth, right? So to love more, to do things in a more excellent way, in a more efficient way. So to be kind, to be kinder in a deeper way. So all of these, so it's essentially something that we carry through the way we work, but it also stands for, it's an acronym. I love acronyms. So um, for make art that gives, inspires, and shapes the world. So the idea of making art, and in the process really kind of tapping into or reconnecting with that inherent capacity we have to create and to shape our lives. Kind of that's where that kind of phrase came from. Because if we reconnect with that, right, we're in the moment believing that yes, we are capable of moving forward even from a pandemic like this, and we can kind of shape our world into being. So, and when we're able to do that as a community, you can create change in your families, in your communities, even in the nation. So
No, that's beautiful, Gina. That's absolutely amazing. I loved what you said about shaping the world, or shaping your community, or just shaping your space, because that is actually very empowering. Just with what you said, it also gives you the knowledge and the power, knowing that you can do things for yourself, especially in a time where you feel so helpless. I think that that's one of the things that I have heard multiple times during this experience that we have, our shared history now of COVID-19, is a lot of people feel helpless. Whether it's helpless about the situation of not being able to express themselves, not being able to show their love and appreciation for the people that they love because of physical distancing, or also because they feel helpless about how uncertain the future looks like, right? And I believe that knowing that you can shape your world and shape your future, even at this time, is so empowering, knowing that, that there is life after this, right?
absolutely. And it has so much to do with the topic, which is mindfulness, because in the process of creating, we're in the moment, right? So we're in a pause, so like a smaller pause than the bigger pause we're in now. And that pause gives us the chance to kind of really be sensitive to what's real to you, what's important to you. And when you're creating from that space, right, that sensitivity to self and to others and to the world, then the shaping isn't doesn't really include ego. It's not about I want to be the best. It's about kind of really sensing what does the world need, or what does my life need. Yeah.
So maybe because I love this, I love how our conversation already is flowing. Gina, maybe what we can do is to start first with checking in. Like, how do you yourself take care of your mental health? Whether it's in general, maybe we can start in the general scope and then with the pandemic happening.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you asking that question, because, a lot of people will think, oh, she's a mental health professional. Her history is probably she never had issues in her life. And I'm just like, most mental health professionals become mental health professionals because they've had issues in their life. So we've learned, through time. So me personally, what I really, it's very, very basic. No sleep, as you know, and all the research is key. You got to sleep before 10 or 11, so our cells regenerate. we have to get 8 hours. So I also do feel it. If I don't get 8 hours, I'm a little off during the day, and I have to find time, to kind of quiet down and center, like have small pauses during the day. The other thing is physically also is eating properly. So over the years, I've already kind of been able to understand, well, what does my gut respond to, right? What does my body and my mind respond to? So then, and since everybody's different, right, what I eat might, and what helps me in terms of nutrition might be different from somebody else. But that's a relationship also that takes time, that relationship with your body. And then the other thing too is exercise, of course. So I practice yoga, and I take many long walks, and I make sure to kind of bathe in nature, because that really kind of fills the cup. And then beyond the physical, in terms of the social emotional well-being, what I found really key through the years is making sure I'm surrounded by positive people, by a really good support system, right? There's a doctor, her name's Amy Bax, and she wrote this book called 4 Ways to Click. And it's so fascinating because she actually talked about the neural underpinnings of the kinds of relationships that we have. And she says in her work with people that people's mental health have actually improved when they surround themselves with people who are calm, enough people in their lives. No? So to have enough people in your life who, when you're around them, you feel calm. And then the other one is accepted. And then R is for, so it's care, again, another acronym. So calm, accepted, resonant, some people you resonate with, and then energize. So if you have a variety of people like this in your life who kind of lift you up, then that also helps you thrive, and your well-being improves. So I try my best to do that, and then also kind of set good boundaries, with people who may tend to be toxic. We can't avoid that, and we all are different, so we have our different how should I say, limits in terms of what we can or we can't take. And we can do it kindly, but we do have to set boundaries. And then also, I think the other thing is social media, right? Knowing how to limit. Like for me personally, I try to avoid too much social media. So the only thing I can do is Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm showing my age, sorry. And then the other thing too is like with the news, my consumption is just reading. When I hear it's too much, and it can inundate you. And then in terms of like just learning, I make sure I read, so I read things that fill me up and that nourish me. It kind of keeps you creative and learning new things, and learning things that you can share with other people. And then overall, I think the most important thing for me is really practicing gratitude, and also having a really strong spiritual life. So my spirituality is kind of my anchoring kind of piece for my own mental well-being, and practicing having time for meditation and prayer daily, both in the morning and the evening, is something that has really kind of also helped keep me even keeled. In addition to that, sorry that it's so long. I mean, it takes it takes a lot to maintain one person. Yeah, especially if you're seeing clients. I work with a lot of people, so sometimes also with trauma. So we really need to keep ourselves well. Yes, I also have my own therapist. So I actually work with a psychoanalyst, and I see her weekly. And that's really been key. Now, not everybody needs a therapist. Not everybody wants a therapist, but for me personally, it's been also critical, because then it keeps me in tune with where I'm at. Because in therapy, my presence is really what is my gift to my client, right? So seeing a therapist keeps me also on track.
I just want to say thank you for saying the word nourish. I don't think that people say it enough. Nourishing, we hear a lot of motivational quotes, right? And a lot of advice, and a lot of people who tell you that hey, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and all of those things. But I rarely hear the word nourish. But actually, when I do think of self care, of mindful living, the word nourish is what really gets to me, what really resonates with me, because you need to be able to nourish yourself, feed yourself with something, or with something that really rejuvenates you, which invigorates you, but also keeps you calm, cool, collected, at peace, right? And nourishing actually is very long term, right? It's like taking care of a plant. You can't just you can't just pour water and walk away and hope that it continues to stay alive, right? Like, it does need that care, and nourishing is such a beautiful word. I just wanted to share that, and I feel that people should always carry that word with them when talking about taking care of oneself, right? So thank you for sharing that. And I love that we're sharing this, because I really feel that everybody needs to know this, that they should honor themselves, and the best way to take care of your mental health is what works for you, right? It's not like a playbook, right? It has to be also something that will really sit deep with you, so that you can actually have you're able to bring out the best in that situation. So let's talk about art, right? Because you did mention, Gina, earlier about how art heals, and taking care of your mental health actually is healing yourself in an everyday setup, right? For you, what is the role of expressive art in therapy?
Okay, yeah. So it's a beautiful field. Obviously, I'm very biased, no, but it's really founded on the principle of poesis, which is one of Aristotle's three ways of learning. And poesis is learning by making. So essentially, it's the idea that when we engage in the creation of something, whether it's writing a song, or painting, or creating a dance, um, that actually teaches us something about ourselves, and primarily, really, like I mentioned earlier, reconnects us with that part of ourselves that deep down inside, sometimes we forget, has the capacity to thrive, right? And when we're down, when we're fearful, or we're anxious, or we're depressed, whatever it is, coming into touch with that can actually wake up our senses, right? So when we're creating something, it's also multi-sensory. So if you think about life as art, right, and that's the philosophy, it's really living artfully, living in an arts-oriented way. Our senses are awake to what's around us. So anything can be beautiful. Anything can be something we're sensitive to, that really touches our soul, right? And that feeds, and like I mentioned earlier, that nourishes us. So um, when we're involved in the creation, the idea also is it wakes up not only our senses, but it also wakes up parts of our brain that may have been affected by stress or even trauma. So there is a neurological basis for different art forms affect different parts of the brain. And then also they affect the same parts that actually are affected by mindfulness exercises. So if you'll notice, and when people are actually drawing, like when I work with clients, after we, let's say, we paint or we draw something, and we talk about not just the picture that they made, but also what it was like to actually create it. Many will say, I totally forgot about my issue, right? So they're actually being in the moment. And some of them will say, just actually hearing like the pencil, just hearing that against the paper is something that uh, they could really resonate with. It touches something inside them that suddenly makes them feel, yeah, I'm alive, right? So from being very anesthetized to life, right? Because sometimes we're so used to routine, we just kind of keep on going. We have to, like, how should I say it? There's so many things in society that we have to adhere to. We just keep going. Sometimes we're completely anesthetized to what is can be so simply beautiful around us. And in therapy, when we're working with people, and let's say it's every week or every 2 weeks, what happens is that the individual or the groups we're working with suddenly become, yeah, like we're awake to what's beautiful around us. I look at the leaf, as simple as that, and I can write a poem about it. And it can nourish somebody else's soul, not just mine, you know? So it sounds corny, but there is a neurological and scientific basis to it. And there's also a process in therapy called decentering that we engage in. So it's not just about, oh, this person is in therapy, I'm going to bring some art supplies in there. The expressive arts therapists have a familiarity, of course, with specific issues that people will bring into the session. We have a trauma-informed approach where we also are curious about the person's history, and then familiarity, of course, with essentially. I don't like to say the word disorders, but like issues that come up for people, no, anxiety, depression, suicidality, all that. And then we also have a familiarity with what material or expressive art form might help, because there are some art forms that can actually that may how should I say, trigger the wrong things. Although with art, because it's so powerful, it can it can bring up things very easily. So the responsible use of the arts, and there's the response of the attunement of the therapist to the client, is really key in making that relationship between the client, the therapist, and the art, because there's three in the therapeutic relationship, something that really is hopefully helpful to the client for the long term.
No, that's absolutely amazing because like what you said earlier, it actually helps you to become more mindful, right? The whole process on that one. And on that note, actually, the next question I have for you is how do you achieve mindfulness? Like with everything that you've shared earlier, to you, how does one achieve mindfulness?
Yeah, I see it more as something that's like, it's almost like a, a lifelong journey, right? It's something like, it's more like a practice that it's just something we do and kind of learn, right? So if we want to begin the journey of mindfulness, I think that what's key is finding a practice where we can actually be still with our thoughts, right? And be curious about what's in our mind and what's in our heart and what's going on with our body. So kind of being able to lean back in that pause, in that stillness, and just look at it and accept it. Like you said so beautifully, making room for whatever it is that's there without the judgment, right? And if we're able to do that on a daily basis, let's say, or even if it's, we have to take baby steps sometimes. Sometimes we start with once a week I did it for 5 minutes. Well, great, right? And then you try again, and that grows. It doesn't have to be like perfect at the onset, because there's no such thing, obviously, as perfection. And sometimes we take 10 steps forward and then we take 20 steps back. So it really will vary for everybody. But I think the whole idea of practicing it is, again, being sensitive to the here and now, right? So how do I come in touch with my breath when I notice, or what is my relationship with my body like, so that when I feel stressed, right, when I feel like my breath is short, I can pause and maybe lengthen it, and then also just notice what's in the here and now. So if I'm upset about something else, I'm not noticing maybe the wonderful meal I'm having, right? When it's such a blessing to have food on the table, right? At this time when many people don't have it. So as basic as that, it's a practice that over time I think we develop through just kind of giving ourselves that gentle nudge to keep going.
Nice. Actually, one of my favorite exercises about taking a step back and just being reminded of the here on now and now is so I follow the Calm app, and it's something that has really actually helped me a lot, especially in times of distress and especially when I can't sleep. Because when you're so stressed out, it's very hard to actually calm down and have a good night's rest, right? So One of the things that I got from the Calm app when I started using it was a grounding exercise of writing down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you stop whatever it is that you're doing. You write 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So just using those, and you don't need to look far because it's just you, yourself, your senses, and what's around you. Tremendously helps you to snap out of that mood, to sort of like say, okay, you know what, I need to be mindful of what's going on right now so that I can make room to tackle whatever it is that's stressing me out. And if that, that exercise alone is just 5 minutes, that 5 minutes actually counts, right? And it makes all the difference. Makes all the difference with what you're doing. And I think I already sort of like pounced with like an exercise that has helped me greatly. But I would love to know, Gina, from your point of view, for people who are having some trouble really staying in the present or appreciating the moment or just really being mindful or living mindfully. What are some exercises that you feel like some simple exercises that they can do on a daily basis that can really help in doing mindful living?
Yeah. So we can start with something really basic and simple, like let's just say taking a walk for 5 minutes. If you have the time to do it, or well, if you could extend it to 10, that would be better, or longer. But just taking a walk and really kind of bathing yourself in nature is one. The other thing too, I learned recently actually from another podcast through her name is Marcy Shimoff, and she talked about this exercise from the Heart Math Institute. And I actually I've tried it for about like 2 weeks now, and it's so beautiful because it's so simple. So during the day when I find myself getting stressed, with all the different projects, she said, put your hand on your heart, because like when we hold our heart, when we have experience touch, right? Like when a mother breastfeeds, we secrete oxytocin, which increases our happiness or our joy level, which then boosts our immune system, right? So just in touching it, that's already such a plus. But she said, take a few breaths, right? If you feel like closing your eyes, you can close your eyes. And then she said, breathe from your heart, right? So just take a breath, breathe in and out. And as you're holding your heart, she said, think of somebody that you love or somebody that loves you, right? It could be a person, could be a four-legged creature, it could be God, it could be you loving yourself, So just kind of breathing that in and taking that time. And then she said, breathe in compassion, peace, and ease, and then breathe out what your body does not need. And she said, just do that for like 3 minutes wherever you are. And then you'll see your body's going to feel completely different. And I've been trying it like sometimes 2-3 times a day. And it's like amazing. So I said, that's something I've actually added just during this pandemic. So it's beautiful to learn that. The other thing I wanted to share really quickly was an exercise that kids can do. So if you're a parent, let's say, and you want your kid to kind of like calm down and just kind of get back into this a space of stillness, which is really, really hard these days. It's just drawing spirals. Like get them on a piece of paper and just draw spirals and draw it with them, right? Draw it with them. So you're doing it together. And then as you draw, you breathe in and out, breathe in and out and in and out. So there's many different exercises you can do, but that's a simple one. Yeah.
Nice. So doodling also helps.
Because it's just in the moment, getting you out of this, you know what I'm saying? So in expressive arts, it's kind of like decentering, right? You take yourself out of that situation. Then if you wanted to go further and look at your doodle and like really get into the whole, looking at having a conversation with your piece, you might even learn something that will help you deal with what's stressing you out, right? So yeah, doodling does help.
Nice. Thank you very much, Gina. I love that. I'm going to be doing those exercises as well, especially the heart thing, Because actually, the minute you said touch yourself, just the act of being able to say, okay, like, I am like taking care of myself, because there was like just that action to find your heart, right? And have that moment. Let's talk about mindset, right? Because these are great exercises that can help us like center and be in the moment. But a lot of folks also have, trouble being in a positive or a still mindset, a calm mindset, especially with what's going on. Are there some exercises or advice that you would like to share with folks on what kind of mindset we should have in living this kind of life?
Right. So if with regards to the pandemic, I think one of the key things is just really, I mean, it's become kind of a cliche now that we're all in this together, but it is true, right? That we are in this together. And I think the key thing is really knowing that we're not alone. So that, for instance, like you said, making space for the anger, the grief, and all of that, that if on some days we're feeling terrible, that's okay, right? But it's gonna pass. Like feelings are like the weather. A storm will pass and it'll get better, it'll get sunny again, right? So I think that's one thing, really knowing that we're not alone. And then the other thing is really making that decision. So when physically we are eating well, we're sleeping well. So those are the key things, right? Sleep well, eat well. We can make better decisions. And when our bodies are in a state of also feeling well. So to decide that I am not a victim here. I can, beyond surviving this, I can actually thrive in it, right? I can actually do good things for other people despite the fact that there's a crisis. So that attitude of resource orientation, meaning we're coming from whatever little resource we have, we can use it for good for ourselves and for other people. And that's another expressive arts principle. I apologize for like sneaking in all these expressive arts
No, it's
principles.
perfect.
Yeah, so that in terms of mindset, it's really kind of like, I think what helps even me, when I start to feel like, things are getting tough. When I know I'm not alone, you feel, okay, we got this, we can do this. And it kind of just lifts you up a little bit so that you can get to the point where you say, okay, I can not just survive this, but I can thrive through it.
No, absolutely. That's amazing. Actually, Gina, when you were sharing this, a book that I recently read kept on coming back to me. So it's by Glennon Doyle. Her book is called Untamed. And one line or one chapter that she had on this line really, really resonated with me. And it's actually what you said. And what she says in her book is that we can do hard things. That's it. Like, when you are faced with a challenge, with a scenario that is overwhelming, what you see is over the top, you just have to, like take it in and say we can do hard things, right? We can do hard things because we are not alone. So thank you so much for sharing that, because it really does help people in situations to know that there are things that you can control, that you are not alone, but with, I love what you said earlier, resource orientation, right? If you just shift that mindset and that perspective, it does make a huge difference. You know how to be able to tackle it. So on that note, Gina, I know we talked about the expressive arts, we talked about mindfulness and mindset, attitude, some simple exercises. I would love to know your thoughts on how we can help someone who is starting out their journey towards better mental health. What would be your ultimate advice or pieces of advice that you feel they should carry with them as they start this journey of taking better care of themselves?
Yeah, so my response to that is actually also connected to what you just said about the mindset, no? Because I think really having a very good support system is really key. And not everybody can find that, right? So some people feel very alone in the world. And that's why reaching out to people, sometimes we're so busy in our lives, we forget, oh, maybe this person needs help that I know, right? So just sometimes even a text hi, and then suddenly you can become that person. So we're forming a community where people feel supported to get better. So I think anybody who is starting on a journey really needs to have that really strong support system of people that they can depend on. And then also, the other piece is knowing that you're not alone. Um, the other thing is patience, really kind of having that gentleness towards the self, knowing that being on this journey is lifelong, right? It can be lifelong, whether you're working with a therapist or not. To know that it's really a process. Like I said earlier, you can take 3 steps forward and then take 10 steps back, but it's in the getting up that matters again, right? I mean, again, another cliche, but it's again, I guess it becomes a cliche because it's true, right? So if you have a good support system, you'll be able to get back up. And then the other thing is also being loving, honoring your vulnerability to the point where you become, how should I say it? You choose who are worthy of holding that vulnerability to you, so we don't spill out. Like there was a time, I think, where people felt that to get on the bandwagon of being more mentally well, we had to spill out everything all over, right? In social media and all that. And sometimes that can also be dangerous because we can't control how people respond to that. So it's really honoring the spaces in ourselves that are vulnerable, so that we're choosy about who we share these things with, and hopefully that we have people that we can trust, that we can journey with, right? So essentially, I would say that, like, really the patience, keeping at it, the perseverance, remembering that life will always have light and dark, right? But it's in our capacity to sit with ourselves and hold those 2 parts of ourselves together that we can really then take the steps forward to keep getting better and better.
No, thank you so much, Gina. That means so much to me because I resonated with everything that you shared, and I feel that it's something that I myself need to practice and really be more mindful of, right? To talk about, I mean, to use the topic of conversation today, mindful living is having to sit with yourself and be mindful of what's in front of you, what are the things that you can do and that you can control, right? And having that support system outside and inside yourself, right? Being able to balance that out, knowing that you are not alone in this, but at the same time, you need to be able to honor yourself, what will work for you, and reach out to people who can help you with that one, right? I just wanted to ask you one last question, and maybe you could just quickly share for our listeners out there who may not be having the best Monday so far, right? What is one thing that you feel they can do to brighten up their Monday morning today?
So I hope you've had at least 2 good full glasses of water upon waking up. And then I think the other thing is just finding time to be still and focusing on your breath if you can. And then thinking about the people you love and who need you, right? Who need you to be present. So if we're able to kind of find that stillness so that our body feels refreshed and ready for the day, then I think you'll have a great Monday. I think, at least. So, and I pray that you do. And if there's sun out there, yeah, take 5 minutes and stay under the sun. Get that vitamin D in there, and you'll feel great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Gina. We are wishing and praying that everybody has a beautiful Monday, guys. Even if it didn't start so great, there are ways for us to be still, to capture the moment and send out those happy sparkles. If not for the world, for yourself, because, guys, you deserve it. Gina, thank you so much. You have been such a great joy and great source of inspiration on our show. Thank you so much for sharing the magic of MAGIS Creative Spaces. It's been such a delight listening to your stories and your tips and tricks. I would love for our listeners to know more about you guys. So maybe you can share where they can reach out or how they can find more about you.
Sure, yeah. So we're on Facebook. So just look for Magis Creative Spaces. We're also on Instagram. Soon we're going to be on Twitter and LinkedIn. That's coming up in the next 2 weeks. And on the Facebook and Instagram, you'll find we have chats every week. We have also a support group throughout the pandemic that's open to everybody. And then we're also going to start to have an open studio. So the last thing I wanted to say is if being still doesn't work for you, do a happy dance.
I love it.
Start your Monday well.
We're just going to do a happy dance, Gina. I'm going to tell the team, everybody, we need to do a happy dance every morning.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you so much, Magis Creative Spaces. Thank you, thank you. And guys, there you have it. Miss Gina of Magis Creative Spaces with us this morning. And if I could just add a food for thought for today, it's all about nourishment. We go back to the very first thing that Gina and I talked about earlier, which is that you cannot pour from an empty cup, people. So please make time for yourself. Do not cancel on your me time because you deserve it and you need it. So I hope you guys enjoyed our episode for today's B2B. It's all about mindful living and living your life the best way we can all do so. So if you want to find out more about B2B, stay tuned for the next episode and follow our social media pages. We're on Facebook, www.facebook.com/TeamAsiaPH. We are also on Instagram, so tag us at TeamAsiaPH. We're also on LinkedIn, www.linkedin.com/company/TeamAsia. And of course, our amazing website, www.teamasia.com. Don't fret. If you want to talk to someone, please also comment on the our comment section and let's talk. We would love to know more about you guys and we would love to send happy sparkles in the world this beautiful Monday morning. Maraming salamat. That's it for me and we'll see you next week here at B2B talking about some digital trends that you guys need to know about. Thank you so much, guys. Bye!